Welcome to the Suricata Napatech installation guide, and what we're going to cover here is how to set up the Napatech accelerator product to maximize the performance of your Suricata deployment. First of all, you can find everything you need to know about Suricata on suricata.ids.org. You can download the latest version, you can read the documentation. And if you navigate through the documents, you will find section 15.2 is the installation guide for Napatech. So first of all, let me just go through some of the features and capabilities in the Napatech accelerator that will accelerate Suricata. So first of all of the cards have 12 gigabytes, or up to 12 gigabytes, I should say, of memory on the card, and what this does is just minimize packet loss when first of all either the application can't keep up or the PCI Express bus is busy for whatever reason. The other feature is the ability to zero copy packets through DMA directly to the buffers that the Suricata application threads will read from. So no copies made. We bypass the kernel and we DMA directly. Most all of the Napatech accelerator products have non-blocking PCI Express interfaces, so meaning that there is enough capacity available on the PCI Express bus to be able to capture all packets on all ports. Hardware port merging is important, especially when you're monitoring both directions of a network segment. What this guarantees is the packets are delivered in the proper order to Suricata, and basically once all the ports are merged together, you can then configure the accelerator to do the distribution to up to 128 host buffers or 128 Suricata threads. Two other features that are valuable as well is precise hardware timestamps, which guarantees that every packet will have a unique timestamp, and accurate time synchronization. So whatever your time source is, you can very accurately synchronize to it. So let's get started here. First, installing the Napatech package. So I've created a directory here, and in it I've basically have the NAC software package, which is the Napatech software, and I've also got the latest version of Suricata downloaded. So there are some prerequisites, so I'll just check to see if these are on my system. Basically you need to have make, kernel development headers, GCC. Okay, and it looks like we have those already installed. So let's unzip the Napatech software package. And what we'll do is we'll go into, there's a Linux folder under there. And under there you can see we have our deb and RPM packages. This is CentOS 7, so we'll install the RPM. So I'm just going to use yum. Install, and then the NAC package. And this shouldn't take too long to do. Just give it a minute here. Okay, great. It looks like it installed successfully, and you can see it also started the NT service. So this is the service that basically monitors and maintains the Napatech system. So that's good. So some of the things we can do just quickly as everything gets installed in op Napatech 3 bin as far as the binaries. We can just run this monitoring tool, which is useful because you can look at the time synchronization status, you can look at the sensors, you can look at the port status. So you can see here, actually we have 8 ports. So the first 4 ports are the Napatech NT40E3, which is a 4-port 10 gigabit card. Ports 4 through 7 are gigabit NT4E. So the software will basically enumerate all the ports and make it look like it's a single card. And in fact, if you want all the ports merged, you can do that as well. But what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on the 4x10. And there's a couple of things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the service, because there's a couple of files that we should we need to remove. They're just not needed for Suricata. So in the config directory, you'll see everything, all the settings basically for Napatech are in this ini file here, nt-service. So, but I'm going to remove that. I'm also going to remove this setup.ini file. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to restart the service. And what this is going to do is actually generate a brand new nt-service.ini file based on the settings in the system, based on whatever cards happen to be installed in the system. And then once that happens, I'm going to make a few modifications. Okay, just wanted to verify that everything is okay. But let's go to config here, and let's edit the NT service. .ini file. And actually, I'm going to remove this other card from the system just because it's not needed. We're not going to be using it, so I'm going to remove this. This is how you disable a card. Basically, comment it out or just remove it. The other thing is we're going to do. We're actually going to do multi-threaded load distribution across 8 buffers. And I'm going to increase the buffer size to something larger. You can create host buffers up to 128 gigabytes if you like, but I'm just going to go to, let's just say 128 megabytes. The TX buffers are not really needed, but you can leave them there. That's for transmit if you wanted to do traffic generation. And then the other settings I'm going to change is around the time synchronization. And really what the default is use an external signal. I don't really want to use that. I want to use set the synchronization source to be OS time. And so let's try okay. Okay, so that's looking good. So now we see we just have that single card in the system. If I go to time sync, I can see that we're synchronized to OS time. It's still in the process of synchronizing. The other thing you can do here is you can also look at the sensors if you like. See the temperature of the card and temperature of the SFP modules. All right, so that's that. Let's go back now and let's configure and install Suricata. Okay, so you can see I've already installed it. So let's just configure it, and there is one typo here, which I will fix in the guide. This here, enable Napatech, should be enable on dash Napatech. Okay. So this should configure. So let's give that a couple of minutes here to configure that, and then let's basically after that's done, we just do a make and then a make install. We'll give this a chance to finish. Okay, so that looks good. Now we're going to do a make install. I'm going to do a make install full. There we go. Okay, so now that's installed. So just a change to the YAML file, which is located here. And you can see, actually, I had already made these changes, but you want to basically define the number of streams that you want Suricata to look at, and use all streams. That's by default. So right now we're going to do 8, but in theory you could do a lot more than this, right, if you wanted to. I'm just going to do 8 threads, and let's move on to the advanced multi-threaded configuration. So I already changed the host buffer size. I changed it to 128, but 256 is fine as well. Okay. And basically what you want to do here is create a file with these NTPL commands. Okay, so let's create a file here. NTPL is a Napatech programming language. It's a scripting language for setting up the hardware, so you don't have to write any C code if you don't want to. You can just basically create a file like this. You can see what it's going to do here. It's going to delete any existing streams or filters, which there shouldn't be any. It's going to define or set up on NUMA node 0. And that's where, so that's the other thing that's important, is that the NUMA node the card is plugged into, that's what you want to define your host buffers. So you can see this is the NUMA node here, this is the size, this is the number. So, and that's key because you don't want to be using the QPI, which is the quick path interconnect interface between the 2 NUMA nodes. So if you have 2, if you only have a single socket, you don't have to worry about it. But for this one, I do have 2 CPUs in here, so I am explicitly defining NUMA node 0. So that's where I want the streams to be, or to run in. And I've also defined my host buffers in the NT service ini file to be in NUMA node 0. So these are kind of a default filters, but here you can define filters, whatever filters you want. You can look in the documentation on how to do that. And the hash mode shouldn't be round robin. This is another mistake. This should be hash 5 tuple sorted. Okay, and what that's going to do is that's going to distribute based on 5 tuples, and then it's going to sort them, meaning you'll get both directions of the conversation in the same host buffer. And then here I just do the assignment. Okay, basically just assign, and this assign command is basically what kind of starts everything up, gets it up and running. Okay, so now we've created our NTPL file. Now I'm just going to run the NTPL tool. So now we're basically set up. We've got streams, and so really the only thing left to do is to now start Suricata. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up another terminal here. And we're going to go run some other tools. We can just, let's see, do I have htop? Let's just run top. You can see we have Suricata running, and we have, looks like we're using 8 cores. Let's go to, and we may be overloading this system. We shall see in a second. So the profiling tool, yes, so you can see we're kind of overloading the system right now. So one thing we can do here is we can stop Suricata. Okay, so what I've done here, so the base configuration you can see is 8 buffers, but as I showed you, I have a full 10 gigabits coming into a single port on this card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I have 20 hyper-threaded cores per socket. So I'm going to use all 20. And because we could see some packet loss there. So now I'm just going to increase the size, the number of host buffers. I'm also going to increase the size of the host buffers. So first of all, I just did a, I modified my NTPL file to now have 20 host buffers. And then at the assign command, you have to remember to do this, okay? And then if we go and look at ntservice.ini, you can see that we have, I've increased the number of host buffers significantly. I also increased the buffering in each one to 512 megabytes. So, yes, I'm using 10 gigabytes on top of the buffering on the card. And you can see I have 20 buffers, and it's NUMA node 0. Okay, so now I've already run the NTPL, so I'm just ready to start Suricata. So I'm going to restart Suricata. We can go and look at the profiling tool here again. Okay, and I can actually reset those drops. Okay, so now you can see we are doing a full 10 gigabit Suricata. We're using just a single CPU. We're using all 20 cores. We're running 20 threads, and haven't done any setting of CPU affinity or anything. I'm just letting Linux decide what cores those threads should run on, and I'm basically just making sure that the host buffers and that basically run in NUMA node 0, and the threads are running in NUMA node 0 as well. So anyway, that's all I wanted to show today. Feel free to reach out to Napatech support, ntsupport@napatech.com. If you have any questions, or at the next Suricata conference, come on up and talk to me. My name's Pete Sanders, and I'll be there. And thanks again for watching, and have a good day.
Napatech, faster than the future.